the Royal Blue Podcast from the Liverpool Echo.
Hello everybody and welcome to another edition of Goodison Park, my home. As you can see, we've got one of the most familiar faces and voices at Everton, Ian Snodin. You can even see some of the younger viewers there over my shoulder. That's what he used to look like when he was playing for Everton. But obviously he's every Evertonian's favourite Yorkshireman, and he's been part of the furniture now at Goodison Park for a very long time. So Ian, how are you, first of all?
I'm great. Cheers, Chris. It's great to be here. I'm not happy with that picture, by the way. I have changed since then.
Yeah.
We're, I think, about 23, 24 there. But long hair's gone, the muzzy's gone, grey hair now. So,
wow.
But yeah, still involved at Everton Football Club, and it's the club I love.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and we'll come on to all of that. But if we start back in the beginning there, and obviously when you were at Doncaster Rovers and you were playing with your brother Glynn, so that must have been an interesting start for you, the siblings there.
Apparently my dad was a really good footballer, never really made it, went to Wolves as a youngster, thought he should have been in Wolves' team when he was 16, 17, and then obviously fell out of love. He met my mum and got smoking and drinking. He was quite strict with me and Glynn, to be honest. Glynn was 3 years older than me.
Yeah.
And I was a bit different of a character to Glynn.
Okay.
And I could see my dad, how strict he was to Glynn, because he got in the Doncaster team, Rovers, when he was 17.
Right.
And I were only 14. Mm-hmm. And I kept looking at my dad thinking he's not letting Glynn go out. He's not letting him do this. And I'm thinking, I'm not having this.
No.
I was kind of different. But by the time I'd moved on to 15, 16 and I'd got a chance of becoming an apprentice player, I accepted that my dad were doing the right thing for us, leading us down the right way. So, he were strict in a way, but he was doing it for a good reason, because he believed that the two of us had got every chance of being professional footballers.
Yeah, so probably in the blood, he probably didn't want you to make the mistakes perhaps that he'd made.
100%.
Yeah.
And it was tough, because I was from a mining village in Rotherham. Yeah. My dad were a miner. Yeah. All my pals were either steel workers when they left school or going down the mines. Yeah. And they were earning a lot more than I was as an apprentice footballer. Yeah. And I remember my dad saying the lads had gone to the pub at 17. We weren't supposed to. Yeah. And I wanted to go, and my dad went, "No, you're not going." No. And he went, "You'll be able to go back in that pub, hopefully in about 3 or 4 years, and buy every one of your mates a drink, because you'll be earning good money." Yeah. So while it was tough that I couldn't go with my mates in the pub, as I say, he did me a great favour, and I see quite a few of them still now. When I go back to see my mum and dad, they're still alive. Yeah. Still go back to Rotherham and see them, and I still see some of my old mates, my old school mates there. Yeah.
What was that like, those early years? Because I imagine playing at that sort of level have really sort of toughened you up for that career in the First Division and Premier League going forwards. Yeah,
I hired a manager. I'm sure everybody well knows him, Billy Bremner. Yeah. Unfortunately, he passed away when he was only 54. And he was brilliant for me, Chris. He gave me my debut at 16-year-old, playing alongside him as well. I was substitute and he was player manager at Doncaster. Right. I think about 39, 40 at the time. He was still the best player that Doncaster had around that time. In training, he was incredible. So I remember being sub, and it was then the coach who was his coach in the first team were playing Dave Bentley. Okay. And Dave came off with about 18 minutes to go, and I went alongside Bremner. Wow. And it was incredible for me, 16-year-old, to play alongside him. I don't think I hardly touched the ball, but I was just listening to him telling me where to run, what to do. And I think it was about 2 weeks later, he even left himself out and put me in the team. Wow. Yeah. And he just said to me, because he was number 4 for Leeds United, and he just says to me, "I'm going to give you the number 4 shirt at Doncaster." He says, "And I want you to try and get it at every club." That's how close I was to him. Yeah. Personally, he was fantastic for me. As I say, he gave me my debut at 16. He made me captain at 18. Mm-hmm. Glynn was still there. He was 21. He was 3 years older than me. Yeah. There were a lot of experienced players. But I just think he's seen something in my game that were in his game. I was a little bit fiery. I wanted to win at all costs. And he gave me the captaincy, which was a massive thing at 18-year-old, playing in the old 3rd and 4th division. Yeah.
I mean, being the player that he was, I guess you could only learn from that, and he's obviously in the same position as you. Just how did he rub off on you? What was he like as a character? Because we all know he was as a fiery character, but obviously great leadership as well at Leeds United and taking that on.
In my early times as an apprentice, I only did 1 year apprentice. I signed pro. You're supposed to do 2, but he signed me pro at 17. But I always felt they were getting on to me. There were I'd said about 10, 12 apprentices. And I felt that it was giving me more stick than anybody else. But I knew what it were for then.
Yeah.
After a few months, I'm thinking, he thinks I've got something here. He don't want me to slack. Every time we were doing sit-ups, he seemed to be getting outside and going up, down, in. And he was just on me case all the time. And I'm thinking... And then my brother pulled me. He said, Ian, he's doing it for a reason because he thinks you've got a chance. Yeah. He says, if he weren't bothered about you and didn't think you'd have a chance, he'd leave you alone. He wouldn't even bother with you. So for me personally, he was unbelievable. Yeah. I even built an house. When I'd left Everton, I went back to Yorkshire. I built an house and I called it Bremner Lodge.
Right.
Because I felt it was a nice house in Doncaster. I built it from scratch and I thought if it weren't for him in them younger years... Yeah. I wouldn't have played for Everton. I wouldn't have played for Leeds United. And I put it down to him. So I called my house Bremner Lodge.
Wow, yeah. And obviously, like you say, that move to Leeds United next, I mean, and another huge move for you in terms of replacing Peter Lorimer as captain. I mean, what a name he was at Leeds United. That must have been a great accolade.
Yeah, that were a tough one for me because obviously Billy sold me from Doncaster. West Bromwich Albion, who were managed by Johnny Giles at the time, another former teammate of Billy's. Yeah. Eddie Gray were the manager of Leeds at the time, so they both bid £200,000 for me. So we had no agents in them days, obviously, and Billy just says, "Look, I'll drive you down to Midlands. We'll go and meet Johnny Giles." And then we'll go and meet Eddie Gray on his way back. Yeah. He said, "The decision's yours." He said, "I'm not going to influence you in any way, even though he wanted me to sign for Leeds. Yeah. I got a feeling. But he said, I'm not going to influence you." So we got down to West Brom and we were sat in the reception area and he got the secretary to ring Johnny Giles and tell him that we were here in reception, me and Billy. And she just replied. I remember her replying, "He'll be 5 minutes." He says, "Tell him if he's not here in 1, we're getting in that car and we're going to Ellen Road." Wow. And within 1 minute, Johnny Giles came out. So he still had that respect of Johnny Giles. He said, "Look, no hanging about, he should be here waiting for us," kind of thing. So I spoke to West Brom. They went down that season. They were in Division 1, West Bromwich Albion, but they went down with not many points. So in a way, I signed for Leeds even though they were the old Division 2. Yeah. But I just felt something there at Leeds. And I spoke to Eddie Gray. He was unbelievable man, still is to this day. Eddie Gray's fantastic. And so I signed for Leeds. We had some good players: Dennis Irwin, Scott Sellers, John Sheridan. So Andy Linnigan played there as young kids, Terry Phelan. So we had a good crop, but I just felt at Leeds we were just kind of young altogether. We had 1 or 2 experienced players, but I just felt we were too young. And unfortunately Eddie got the sack. But then to my delight, Billy became the manager. So he came in and the lads were asking me what he's like. I says, "Oh, he's tough. He's tough, but you'll love it. If you do the business for him, he'll certainly look after you." And that was the one thing that I didn't want him to do when he came to Doncaster, when he came to Leeds. I had a feeling, just Peter Lorimer had been at Leeds all these years. He was 39. He was playing out wide left or right. I can't remember which one. And he was the captain, and everybody had a lot of time for Peter, a lot of respect. When Billy come, I'm thinking he shouted Peter down after 2 days to his office, and I'm thinking, "Oh, don't do this." I had a feeling that he was going to make me captain of Leeds, and he'd only been there 2 days, and I'd not been long there myself. And I thought all the lads will think, "God, a little blue-eyed boy." Yeah. And he did. He called Peter in, and then when Peter come back to the dressing room. We'd not gone out for training yet. And he went, "Oh, the boss wants to see you." And I'm thinking, too early, he shouldn't have done this. So I went into his office. He went, "Right." He says, "You're captain of Leeds United." He says, "I've just had Peter in." He said, "He's accepted it." He said, "And you're my captain of..." I said, "Boss, did you have to do it so early?" He said, "I'd have done it yesterday if I had time." So he said, "You're my captain at Doncaster. I want you captain at Leeds." And to be fair, when I walked back into the dressing room, Peter Lorimer stood up, shook me hand, he went, "All the best, you'll make a great captain." So I got a lot of time for Peter Lorimer as well, or I did have, unfortunately, he's passed away as well.
Yeah, and then obviously it worked because you end up obviously getting scouted, and you have that incredible choice. It's made you obviously popular with Evertonians to this day. Obviously, it was a straight choice between Everton and Liverpool, but it's not just a straight choice between Everton and Liverpool. It's the two best teams in the country at that particular time. I mean, what a choice for you as a young footballer.
Can I just stop you there?
Yeah.
It were the two best teams in Europe, I believed.
Yeah.
Not just in English football. I thought they were the best two in Europe.
Yeah.
Wow. It was incredible because it came about that both clubs were interested, and both clubs had put an offer in. I think it started about 650,000. And I think Leeds were quite prepared to accept that. They got me in and said, look, they're both after you. And I thought to myself, do I really want to go? I knew to play at one of them two clubs was going to be the best ever, but I thought, I'm happy here at Leeds. I live half an hour down the road in Doncaster. I'm captain of Leeds United. I've got a manager that I'd run through a brick wall for, and I want to see Leeds back in the First Division where I thought they belonged. Yeah. So I really wasn't that bothered about going at first.
Okay.
And then the next day they came in, Bremner pulled me again. He went, 750,000, they both bid. And I went, I don't want to go. And then the next day got up to 840 and the chairman come to me, he said, you going?
Yeah.
So he went Bremner then, it was the chairman of Leeds, Leslie Silver, he went, you better go. Yeah. So again, no agents, no sat-navs, so Billy took me to, where did we go first? Blackburn, in an hotel in Blackburn, and met Howard Kendall. Yeah. And then we had talks with him, and Howard were obviously trying to get me to sign before I even went and spoke to Kenny at night. Yeah. So we had a couple of hours with Howard, and then we drove to Burnley in an hotel there and spoke to Kenny for a couple of hours, and then Billy took me home, and I had to give me a decision next day. Yeah. And really, I had to give my decision at 12 o'clock. So about 11:30, I gets to Ellen Road. I weren't training that day, and Billy came out and he went, who's it going to be? I don't know, because the money was exactly the same, and money didn't interest me. As I say, if I went for money, me old fella who'd been a miner for 40 years would have kicked my backside if he thought I'd gone somewhere for money. So that didn't even come into it. So at 11:30, Chris, I thought, who do I sign for? The two unbelievable teams that are as good as each other. And Bremner went, you've got half an hour, son, you better make your mind up. So I knocked on his door at 11:55. I went, right, decision. And he went, who's it going to be? I said, Everton. Yeah. He went, are you sure, 100%? I went, Everton. Yeah. He said to his secretary, get me Howard Kendall on. He said, the boy's made his decision. So I got on the phone to Howard. And I thought at first, while I was talking to him, I'm thinking, he thinks I'm going to sign for Liverpool, obviously, because I don't think a lot of players had turned down Liverpool at that certain time. And he went, kind of disappointed. He went, go on then, son, tell me who. And I went, well, hopefully you'll be a bit more happier than I'm coming to join you and Everton Football Club. He went, oh my God, son, do you know what you've done for the Blue or for Merseyside? Yeah. So I think that's why I'm popular, not because I'm in football, but I think I turned Liverpool down. That's why I'm popular with the Blues. But now I can honestly say, a lot of Liverpool fans have said, oh, you'd have loved it at Liverpool. And Chris, 37 years on. Yeah. I am still involved with Everton Football Club. I'm an ambassador. I'm proud to be an ambassador. I'm proud to be an Evertonian. So 37 years on, I'm still at the club I love. Yeah, and we'll come on to all that. But of course, you're vindicated in your decision because you come in and it's a title-winning season, and obviously Everton's last title-winning season at the moment. But we were talking about Gavin Buckland, who comes in a lot, the statistician, does a lot of stuff with us, and he's a sort of great encyclopedic knowledge of the club. And he says, as much as the '85 team quite rightly gets all the glory in the way that they played, he felt that in many ways '87 played a lot better football, and obviously it was a sort of a triumph against adversity in terms of all the different players that you had to use. But it was a great side for you to go into. No, it was incredible. And I remember my first game. Obviously, they must have been on a good run. I didn't get straight in. I think the first 2 or 3 games I was substitute, but the first game was against Sheff Wednesday, and I was substitute, and my brother were playing for Sheff Wednesday. So that were a massive thing to me. People will say, which is the best game you've been involved in an Everton shirt? And for me, even though I came on as sub, my brother was on the opposite team. For both of us, as I say, from a little mining village to be playing in Division 1 at Goodison Park against each other, don't come any better than that. So, but just the names when I walked into that dressing room the first day for training, and I were kind of confident, but I were in awe as well. Even though I were captain of Leeds, they wanted me, Liverpool and Everton wanted me, I looked at the players, Southall's, your Ratcliffes, your Van den Hau's, your Reeds, your Sharpie. You're thinking Trevor Stevens, Sheedy. You're thinking, I don't really belong here. Even though I knew I did. Yeah. But I'm looking at these thinking, there's only my name I don't recognise, to be honest. Yeah. But luckily I played against them for Doncaster in a cup tie 2 years earlier. And they had a strong side out as well. I think it was the 4th round, the FA Cup. I was about 19 at the time. So, I played against them in that. And I thought, then looking around, I think Doncaster took about 8,000 that day. Yeah. But playing against them at Goodison, I thought, even at 19, I thought, you won't mind playing here every week, to be quite honest. Yeah. So when I did sign, the first thing, as I say, I was a confident lad, but I was still, I was a little bit, I weren't shy, put it that way, but just a lot of respect for the lads who had already done it in 84s, 85s, kind of thing. So I was a little bit quiet, and I was travelling back to Doncaster quite a bit in the early stages, and my form weren't great. I weren't pulling up any trees, I felt. And Graham Sharp, who's a big mate of mine, and he just said, look, get settled, get your missus down here with your kids, get an houseboat. He says, and I bet your performances start to improve. And it were. Yeah. It were that. I was just doing training, then nipping home for 2 or 3 days. Yeah. Like, I'd go home on the Monday after training, come back, if we got Tuesday off or something, I'd come back down Wednesday morning, go home Wednesday night, and I was doing that all the time. Yeah. And Sharpie just went, hey, move down. It's great. There's a few of us live in Southport, in Birkdale. Sharpie were there, Sheeds were there, Van den Hau were there, Neil Point were there. And I just felt then from on then on that my time at Everton started to flourish a little bit better. Yeah.
And it was really nip and tuck that year for a long time, though. What's it like being involved in that? I think it was kind of, people look back and there's the win at Arsenal is seen as one of the pivotal moments with Wayne Clark. Yeah. What was it like to be involved at that time?
Do you know, it was great. I remember the goal. Clark, he's clipped it. Lukic has made a bad kick out. But to go down there and win that game, it was then that I thought, we'll win this. Yeah. We'll win this title, because it was a great finish. Great signing, Wayne Clark, to be quite honest. Scored some important goals for us. But you just played in a team that were mentally strong. Yeah. Didn't know when they would beat. You were going out before games and thinking, we'll win this. Yeah. Even no matter who you were playing, if you were away from home, if you were playing the Arsenals, the Liverpools, you could match them. You knew you were in with a chance from the start. So it was a massive boost going out of that tunnel before the game, thinking, we've got a right chance of winning this. Yeah. So,
I mean, it must have been mentally strong too, because Liverpool have been there and thereabouts for so long. And then after this season before, they'd won the double, so to sort of bounce back from that. I know obviously that was before you come to the club, but all that and the injuries they had that season, incredible resilience, really.
It was brilliant. Paul Power was incredible that season as well. I remember coming in January and thinking, I remember watching him on telly about 12 years ago, and he was still giving unbelievable performance, got a great engine, and but you just used to, like, evening training, possession wise, you'd have 3 teams in possession and one team would be chasing, one colours would be chasing the other 2. You just couldn't get in. You were like, no wonder they're this good, kind of thing. Colin Harvey were instrumental, obviously. Howard with the manager, Colin with the coach, and training didn't really last that long, but it was so intense and so good that you knew you'd had a good training session. After an hour of possession, you were thinking, that was tough.
Yeah, I remember reading in Everton Player by Player, they said you had a team of 5-a-side, Snowden Snods.
Oh,
is that right?
What it were, I were a bit of a snarl, and I did have a go plenty of times in training. And so we used to, when I first came, pre-season were brilliant. It was all with the ball with Howard, and you were in teams, about 6 teams, and you'd you'd get points for every little thing you did, keep you up, ball sprinting with ball, and it were fantastic, unbelievable to what I'd been used to. I'd been used to running around Doncaster Racecourse and doing cross countries at Leeds United and stuff like that. But to come and first day pre-season training, get the ball out, and it was fantastic. So Colin just carried on from that. And so he named the 6 teams, and we all had a captain.
Okay.
And my team was Snowden Snarlers.
Wow.
So because I didn't like getting beat. No matter what I were playing in training, a game of pool, anything upstairs.
Right.
No, I didn't like getting beat. So Colin nicknamed me the Snarlers.
Wow, yeah, and an incredible team spirit as well. I mean, the amount of times we heard about that game down at Norwich City when the titles actually clinched, and then poor Jimmy Martin, who was driving the bus that time. I mean, was it true? Was he being told to keep slowing down on the motorway?
Yeah, absolutely. He was the driver. Obviously, he became kit manager then for all these years. So, but I remember again. We won 1-0. And I used to get unmerciful stick about my gear, being from Yorkshire. So Adrian Heath used to give me stick, Sharpie. And so I thought, right, I'm going to go out on Thursday and buy myself a lovely suit, nice tie, nice shoes. And then for the journey home and down there, I'll have the gear on. I'll make them eat the words. So anyway, when we wins 1-0, the champagne's flowing straight away. Not even left the dressing rooms to get on the coach, and I'm thinking, I'm half drunk here. Yeah. we're not even left Gallagher Road yet. Yeah. So anyway, we're on the motorway, and Terry Darracot's on the front of the bus. He's got the microphone, and it was called Champions Radio.
Okay.
So everybody had to go up who wanted to and sing a song. Adrian Heath, Dave Watson got up there. I think I can throw a tune out as well now and again. So I got up singing. There were a few that didn't. Van den Houw wouldn't
What's your party piece?
Little old wine drinker.
Okay.
Yeah, I got a few in the locker. Once I get up there, it's difficult to get me off. But so I sang that. But yeah, it was an unbelievable trip. And again, my wife were picking me up at Burton Wood services. Yeah. And I swear, I can't remember getting past Birmingham.
No.
And we were kind of on a table one. We weren't playing cards or anything, which we usually did. And I just must have fell asleep on the table with me. And the lads have just took all my thing, they've cut all my suit, my shirt, my trousers. So when we get to Burton Wood, I didn't know, I'm still asleep. And I just hears Howard and the lad said, Snods, wake up, we're at Burton Wood services. Your wife's here to pick you up, to take you back to Doncaster. And as I stood up, all my clothes just fell off. They cut everything up to bits. I'd got no shoes. Apparently they put them on the Skyliner on the M6. So they were somewhere on the M6. I'd got no shoes on. So Jimmy's opened the door and my wife's in the car. And Howard's talking to her. And he was merry as well, the gaffer, more than merry. And Jimmy's talking to Joanne. So I gets to the top of the stairs, the doors are open, and she stood there and she looked at me. I was just basically in me undies, in my boxer shorts. And she went, good trip.
Wow. Yeah.
It was an incredible trip. If you're going to win the league, win it the furthest place away, and you can enjoy it. It was fantastic.
Yeah, it's got a bit hazy after Birmingham.
I can't remember a thing after Birmingham.
I mean, the following season, go back on the pitch matters. I'm just picking out a couple of highlights. Obviously, the following season was obviously disappointing because obviously Howard has gone there. It's a new era. If we go on to that one particular game, I'll ask you in a minute about obviously that and we'll call. But I remember one game. Obviously, we used to have those epic FA Cup games back then when you had unlimited replays. And I remember again Sheffield Wednesday. You had a couple of draws there. I mean, for all, like I said, you Snowden Snarlers and all that in your locker. It weren't a prolific score, but I remember the 5-0 at Sheffield Wednesday because you'd drawn with them twice. Yeah, and gone over there 5-0. You got the last one. Was it before half time?
I did. It were about 30 seconds before half time, but. What it were, obviously, Sheffield Wednesday's a big game for me, coming from Rotherham and playing for Donny and stuff like that. So, and I remember we played Middlesbrough a few times. We played Oldham a couple of years later in a lot of games, but this Sheffield Wednesday one were. But we'd gone to Sheffield, I think, the week before in the cup game, and I broke through from midfield twice.
Okay.
And I missed. The first one I thought was quite unlucky. I lobbed Martin Hodge and he just went wide of the post. The second one I got through one-on-one and I've rushed it a little bit. So the lads were having a go at me, saying kind of thing, if you'd have put the chances away, we won't be here the week after for the next replay. Yeah. So they were giving me a bit of stick. Oh, all fun. Yeah. But then we just took Sheffield Wednesday apart. Sharpie got a hat-trick, Adrian Heath got one, and obviously I got the last one, but we were 4 up, and they just kicked off again. We about a minute to go, and we nicked the ball again, and I just thought, oh, there's a gap there, so I made me run in, she put us through, and I slotted it away, and I'm thinking, all the lads are going to be here, because I've scored right in front of the Sheffield Wednesday end. They've been giving me a bit of stick for who I'd played for, Leeds and Donny, etc. So I just stood there with my arms aloft like that in front of the cop at Sheffield Wednesday, thinking all the lads will be coming in a bit to celebrate. I turned around, they were still on the halfway line. Wow. And I'm stood there thinking. And so I get in at half time and I knew we'd won them, we're 5-0. And I went, lads, they went, if you'd have put them 2 chances away, we wouldn't have been here tonight, by the way. So they thought, I'm not even going to celebrate with you. But no, that's the kind of spirit we had. And it were great. It were great fun. Yeah.
Well, so just rolling back, because obviously in that summer of 87, you'd won the league. And I think we have to address this. Obviously, it was a major thing. I mean, how much of a blow was it to lose Howard? Obviously, Colin comes in straight away. But, I mean, were you, as players, were you shocked at that moment?
Yeah, it was a massive disappointment, to be honest, because obviously we should have been playing in Europe, but we wasn't. And for Howard to leave, it was disappointing for me. But even if I'd have signed for Liverpool, Kenny Dalglish, I still see him to this day in Birkdale Village. He's great with me. I have a great laugh with him. I see him quite often. So I don't think it was a matter of me choosing Everton because of Howard. No. Because I've got a lot of respect for Kenny Dalglish as well as a person. So, but once I had signed and once I had played for him for a 4 or 5 months, I thought, I'd like a bit more time with him. Yeah. He was great. He was a player's manager. Okay. He really was. He knew, if you did the business for him, he'd pat you on the back, he'd give you encouragement, and if you didn't, he'd let you know that he was disappointed. So I wanted a bit more time. 6 months for me wasn't really enough. I wanted a bit more time. But in fairness, Colin, he liked the way I played. He liked the fire in me. Colin was apparently a little bit fiery as a player. Yeah. I remember playing head tennis with him when he was manager. He just didn't want. You didn't even want to be on Colin's team because if you lost a point, he would snarl at you. He would have a go at you. Come on, and you're thinking, you could imagine him as a player. Yeah. So I had a lot of respect for Colin Harvey, and he made me captain at one stage as well. Dave Watson were out injured for quite a bit, and Colin pulled me. He said, "Right, you're going to be skipper." Yeah. So. What a feeling that was. Yeah, of course. I always give Graham Stewart a bit of stick for that. I've just said, one thing I've done, I've led Everton down that tunnel with an armband on. You've never done that, mate. Okay, fair so enough, I always give him, he gives me a bit of stick because he says he saved the club, obviously, in '94. So I always give him that. But no, it's... Colin, I love Colin. Yeah. Even to this day, I love Colin Harvey. He was great for me.
Yeah, I mean, a terrific Evertonian as well. Yeah. He served the club in so many capacities.
Absolutely, he was brilliant.
Yeah, yeah. And how did the move to right back come about then? Because obviously you'd have been centre mid, and to be fair, by all accounts, it looked like you'd been there all your life when you.
Well, to be honest, Colin, if he'd have had his way in a way, because I weren't setting the world alight in midfield, and I had been there a couple of years, and then he said he'd more or less done a deal with Sheffield Wednesday to let me go to Sheffield Wednesday. Right. But Howard Wilkinson was the manager. My brother were at Sheffield Wednesday, and he told me about the running every single day that they did. And I thought, that ain't for me. I like to go in training and enjoy it, not just run and run. So I said to Colin, I said, you're going to sell me to Sheffield Wednesday, or you've done a deal for 650,000 it were. I said, who are you going to replace me with? And he went, well, we're going to buy the lad Stuart McCall from Bradford. But in fairness, he might have said to everybody, and I love Mac, a great lad. Yeah. But I thought, I played against him for Bradford, against Doncaster 2 or 3 times. I played for Leeds against Bradford 2 or 3 times. And I just felt, he's never had the better of me in a midfield tussle, Mac. And I thought, if he's the one who's coming to replace me, I've still got something to offer.
Okay.
So I just turned around and said, I'm not going.
Yeah.
And I think he was disappointed in a way, Colin, that he'd done the deal and he was getting back. And then I had to play centre-back. Kev Ratcliffe were injured.
Yeah.
Start of the season, we beat Newcastle. Cotty got his hat-trick.
Yeah, first game for the club,
I played centre-back alongside Dave Watson.
Yeah.
So for, I think about 6 games, I played centre-back.
Yeah.
And I'd done... I played there for Doncaster as 18-year-old. I played in the FA Cup against Everton as sweeper. So I every time Bremner wanted to play me at the back, I'd play at the back. So I was comfortable at the back. I had a bit of pace. I could read the game. So it weren't a problem to me. And I'd done all right. But Kev Ratcliffe, obviously, the club captain, he's coming back from injury. I knew that once he's back, it'll probably be me that's left out. And I'm thinking, well, surely not. I've done enough in these 6 games to absolutely warrant my place in this team. And we bought Neil MacDonald as a right back.
Yeah.
And at first he was just going through a little dodgy time when he first come to the club and everything. And I remember thinking on the Friday, this is going to be interesting. Kev's trained all week. Am I going to get the shout here? So Terry Darracott pulled me. We were getting ready. And he just said to me, the gaffer wants to see you. And I am fuming. I'm thinking, I'm getting left out here because Kev's back. So I'm thinking, for all the good performance I've given, it means nothing really. So I've kind of stormed up, and that's why he called me a snarler as well, because he knew. And I knocked on his door, and he went, come in. And I went, you better not be leaving me out. He went, sit down, calm down. He went, have you ever played right back? I went, no. I went, but if it means me playing tomorrow, I'll play there. Yeah. He went, right, you're playing right back. Played Southampton at home. Yeah. He said, Macca's just struggling a little bit. I want you to play right back. So next day, played Southampton. And to be fair, we went 1-0 down, and I think it was my fault. The balls got played. I were out of position. The ball got played over my head. They've got him behind. We're 1-0 down. I'm thinking, I don't think this right back's for me, to be quite honest. And then I set one up, whipped one in from a short corner, played really well for the rest of the game. I think we won 3 or 4-1. And then it just seemed to come natural to me. I had a bit of pace. I was comfortable on the ball. I could knock longer, short balls into Sharpie, which you can just knock balls up there. And you know Sharpie's going to compete in the air. He's got a great touch. So it was a great outlet ball for you as a fullback. And I did find it comfortable. And within 4 months of playing there, Colin Harvey had phoned Bobby Robson up and said, I think you should have a look. I think I've got the best right back in the country. Yeah. So from him wanting to sell me to Chef Wednesday to now telling Bobby Robson I've got the best right back in the country. Yeah. It was a massive boost to me. Yeah. And I enjoyed it there. I loved playing there because in that Everton team you got a lot of the ball. Yeah. Big Neville just used to throw it out to you. Fullbacks used to break. And even when you got the pace of Kev Ratcliffe at the back, you kind of didn't have to cover the two centre-backs. We were kind of in front, the full-backs, of our 2 centre-backs, because he was that quick, anything over the top. So I found it a reasonable position for me, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and as you said, Colin, giving Bobby Robson the call, and then you're going to play against Greece, and unfortunately it's the hamstring injury, and this is where it kind of started for you.
Yeah, it was a big disappointment. I got called up for that, but I went to Albania for a World Cup qualifier. Yeah. Obviously, it were Italia 90. It was going to be the World Cup. And I went to Albania for a World Cup qualifier. I didn't play, but I knew, I trained. Reedy, obviously, my teammate at Everton was in the squad. Tony Cotty were in the squad. And it was at the time Gaza were playing, etc. Stuart Pearce, Shilton in goal. And I trained with them for about 3 or 4 days, and I'm thinking, comfortable here. Yeah. I did really well in training, and we beat Albania comfortably. And I think it was coming back on the plane. Bobby Robson had said to Reedy, I'm going to give him his debut the next game at Wembley. Yeah. And unfortunately, in between Albania away, and I think it was Albania at home at Wembley, was the next game. We played Sheffield Wednesday at Goodison, and I was playing right back, and I set off to go for a ball that I thought I could get. and then it just skidded off the surface, and I kind of stopped. And then I went again. I thought, I've got a chance. Yeah. And my hamstring just went. But I knew it was something more than an hamstring tear, because an hamstring tear, you can get up, you can walk off. I couldn't even get off the floor. And I'm thinking, God, this is more than an hamstring pull. And I remember the stretcher coming on. Chris Goodson was the physio. Graham Smith was the youth team manager at the time. I remember them both coming on, and I'm going, I can't get up. So the stretcher come on for me. And I thought to myself, this is how proud I was. Yeah. I thought, I ain't getting on that stretcher, because if I'm fit in 2 or 3 weeks and I'm getting stretchered off at Goodison, my old fellow were good nuts and my teammates would slaughter me.
So you try to walk off, you can't.
They carried me. Yeah. I said, I'm not getting on that stretcher. Yeah. And I remember them carrying me in both arms, pair of them. I've got the picture in my scrapbook. Yeah. I've walked by the Goodison end and I've gone into the treatment room, but I couldn't walk off the pitch. Yeah. And it ended up being a broken bone in my hamstring attachment. I had 4 operations on it. I tried coming back a couple of times, but it just kept pulling where the bone were broken. And in the end, I was supposed to go to Harvard University in America for the doc says, look, this is Doc Irving, who was our doctor then. He says, I think this is, I said, it is. I said, because I'm not having any more operations. I said, if this one don't work. So we had a scan, Liverpool University, and he'd shown it up. Yeah. And he went, right, we're going to have a surgeon here. We're going to have it done in Liverpool. And I were already going to Harvard University in America. And I'm going, Doc, he went, no, we found the problem. And it did. They cured the problem. It still took me a good long time. It took me probably 6 months to fully recover from it and get back playing and everything. But 4 operations and scars down my leg, my backside, everywhere. Then it was solved. I reckon they'd cure that now within 6 months if it was a broken bone attachment. Really? But in them days, obviously, a lot of guesswork I felt as well. So I got back playing. Yeah. People say, oh, it must have been a massive blow. Yeah, it were that I didn't play for England, but it's not the be-all and end-all. Yeah. I got back playing for Everton. Yeah. Everton, that's all I cared about. Yeah. And I made a lot of more appearances playing for Everton. So, one thing you were disappointed that you didn't get a cap, but it's not everything. Yeah.
Well, I mean, must have been tough. I mean, best part of 2 years, isn't it? That you didn't play. I know Joe Parker. I mean, it's very different with Joe because obviously he had to retire there. Yeah. You got back, as you said, you played a lot more games. But just how tough was it in those times in terms of you can't do the thing that you love, and how getting back to those fitness battles?
We go back to the teammates. Yeah. I spent some lonely times in that treatment room with Les Elm. Stretching me every day, doing weights on my quads, etc. And the old dressing room at Belfield, the lads had to walk past you in the physio's room to get out onto the training pitch. So you'd see them going out every morning and you're just laid there and thinking, and they're all having a laughing job. But to be fair, they always used to come in the morning, see me, have a bit of a laugh. What we get up to, Snods, last night? So I still felt part of it. They were brilliant, the lads with me. Yeah. They knew what I was going through. They knew it were a long-term injury, but every day they'd come in and see me and have a bit of a laugh and give me a little pick-me-up. And so, I can't thank my teammates enough for that. Yeah.
Did you ever fear that it was going to be the
end?
end?
Yeah, I did. I even before the 4th operation, I thought, if this don't work, that's me. And Howard came back for the second time, and he even told me, he said, look, he said, I love you, son. He says, I'll never forget the day you signed for me. He said, if you don't get back playing, he said, I'm going to make you the reserve team manager. Yeah. And I went, wow. So, and he did it Dave Fogg. Dave Fogg became the reserve team manager. And he said, look, he says, if he doesn't make a full recovery and get back playing, he said, this is only temporary, Dave. He said, because he's going to be the reserve team manager. I want him on my staff. Yeah. So that was a massive boost. Yeah, it was to be wanted by him. But I thought, I'm a bit of a determined character, and I thought, I'm going to get back fit here. Yeah. And I remember that a game I came on I think it was Coventry.
Yeah, I was checking that Coventry right at the end, yeah.
Yeah, were there about 7 minutes to go or something like that?
Yeah, something like
and
that.
I kept saying to him, I think we were leading 2-0 or something, and I kept looking at him thinking, and he just kept telling me to warm up. And I remember all the crowd, every time I was warming up, would give me a standing ovation. I'm thinking, I want to get on here. So I kept looking at him, I'm going, any chance? Any chance of putting me on? He went, and he's like that with me, calm down, you're going on soon. Yeah. Anyway, I think it was about 7 minutes to go, and I remember getting on, and I just got a standing ovation from Goodison, and I thought, God, that's class.
Yeah, I mean, a late cameo then, and I saw you. Obviously, you started the following week at Arsenal, so to show you could actually, that was like a little. I mean, it was a lovely moment, as you say, but then to get back properly, because you were more or less playing pretty regularly.
Yeah, I was. I was struggling at first to play 2 games in a week,
right?
Because I was that sore in the hamstring attachment area, just under the cheek of my backside, that I needed probably 4 days. Like complete rest, and if we've got a game on the Saturday and one on the Tuesday, I was struggling to play on the one on the Tuesday. So at first I was trying to juggle it, which ones were the better game for me to play in.
Yeah.
So I'd kind of miss a Saturday or miss a Tuesday, whichever he felt. Yeah. But as I say, in the end, I got back playing, and I was quite quick. I was still quick, but you'd lost a yard then by that. I'd moved on a couple of years, but after all these hamstrings, it's always in the back of your mind as well, thinking, if I go at full tilt here, am I going to pull up again and stuff like that? But you can't think like that as a player. It's even if you thankfully, I've never broke my leg or anything, but I can imagine if you have, you're thinking, a bit reluctant to go in this tackle or do something here in case it happens again. But you can't think like that as a player. You've just got to naturally do the things you want to do, and if you break down again, you break down. It's unfortunate, I feel. Yeah,
and that was the first year of the Premier League. I don't know how much actual difference that made to players back then, but I was just spotting actually on that game that you came back against Coventry City, and that was a debut for Billy Kenny that day. I mean, obviously it didn't work out for Billy. That's been a tale that's been told many a time. But just what sort of a talent was he for at that particular time? Was he coming in your old position, centre mid? And I mean, he really sort of took things by the scruff of the neck in that derby win as well.
Do you know what?
Yeah,
I had a lot of time for Billy.
Yeah.
He wasn't shy. Typical Scouser, full of himself, even at 16, 17, so confident in his own ability. And even when he came up to train with us, with the first team, 16, 17, he wanted the ball, he could pass, he could play, and you're thinking, good talent here. Yeah. Good player, just didn't look out of place in training. Yeah. And it didn't surprise me. He got man of the match in that Liverpool game.
Yeah.
And it didn't surprise me.
Yeah.
It was sad what went on for him in the end, but no, as a young kid, he had everything to be a top player, Billy Kenny.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, obviously all that Howard did for you, and then the following year he goes again, and then it's kind of like a state of flux. Jimmy Gabriel's holding the fort for a while. That obviously doesn't go well results-wise, and then Mike Walker comes in, so all of a sudden you've gone like a situation when Howard goes about mid-season, mid-table, everything's not so bad, and then as the season goes on, you're increasingly getting embroiled in that relegation battle.
Yeah, it was tough. Obviously, I had a lot of time for all ex-players that play Everton. Yeah. I think once, I know it's a saying of Alan Ball, once Everton's touched you, but it is. I say I'm a Yorkshireman, I'm a proud Yorkshireman, but Everton's my club.
Yeah.
Graham Stewart's the same. He's a Cockney. Everton's his club. Sharpie, he's a Scotsman.
Yeah.
Everton's his club. It's just so infectious, Everton Football Club. And Jimmy Gabriel, I was captaining during that spell when he was caretaker manager as well. So I had a lot of time for Jimmy, and I knew what kind of player he was himself. He was a hard man, and he wanted you to win games, but just didn't work out. And then Mike Walker got the job. And it was a tough time.
Yeah.
I think Mike might have been a good manager for a club like Norwich.
Yeah.
But I think Everton is a big step up to Norwich, and that's no disrespect to Norwich, where he did well with them in Europe. They had a good spell, but Everton are in the news every day.
Yeah.
It's like the Echo were there every day wanting some kind of story.
Yeah.
Perhaps down in Norwich, they're probably doing 2 interviews a week or something like that.
Yeah.
Whereas we want news the Nationals want news about Everton every day. So I'm not saying it was too big for him, but I think he had some good characters that he didn't really know how to handle as well. Yeah. Big Neb was still there, Dave Watson were there, and he didn't go too well, but he kept us up on that famous day.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we've been through that.
Yeah,
with Diamond.
He lets me know every day. He says to me, if it weren't for him that day, I wouldn't be in a job. So
okay.
that's why I have to put up with every day.
That's very good. What was it like? Obviously, you come to Everton Football Club when you're riding the crest of the wave. You know, like you say, the 2 best teams in Europe, and you've got the pick of them. So, unfortunately, you've come full circle in that respect, and then you're fighting for your lives. I mean, what is it like to actually play in a game like that?
Well, I wasn't proud,
because
we shouldn't have been in that position, but we were, and I was one of them that had put Everton in that position. So I was one of them, along with 10 others, that needed to get us out of that last day, and the tension were incredible. I know the Park End were down that day, 34,000, and we got to the ground. I remember walking across with John Ebbrell, and we were walking across the pitch, and I think it was about 1:30, and usually there's not that many in the ground at 1:30 before a kick-off. There must have been 10,000 already, and I said to John Ebbrell, big game this, mate. Big game, you can tell. And it was massive. The tension in the dressing room beforehand, and the buzzer went, and you're in that tunnel and you're facing Wimbledon. Of all teams you didn't want to face, Fashanu thankfully didn't play that day, because he would have been an handful. But Vinnie Jones is shouting in the tunnel. There's a lot of tension, and they knew it was a massive game as well. So it was. And when we went 1 and 2-0 down, you're thinking, even I thought, and I never really give in, and I thought, I think we're going.
Yeah,
I think we're going. And then we got that little lifeline just before half time.
Yeah, and we've had Anders in,
and unbelievable dive, really. But he was scythed down that day. But Graham Stewart picked the ball up, and then honestly, I couldn't even watch me. Diamond always says to me, you were that far back when the penalty would give. You were sat in the Gladys Street and thinking, I'm not going to take this. But he stepped up, and we were back in it. And I remember going in the dressing room, we were buzzing. We wanted to get back out. And Dave Watson, we were all having a go at one another and saying, come on. And Dave Watson he was the captain on the day, and he just went, hey, let's get out early and let's show Wimbledon were ready for them. So we were out a good 5 minutes before Wimbledon come back out, and we were ready and we were up for it. And then rest assisted, Barry Orne scores a goal that he'll never score in his life ever again, and top corner. And then 8 minutes from time, Graham smashes one into it's one of the hardest shots ever recorded at Goodison Park. But who cared? The place just, it was like a volcano. It just went mental. And I remember I didn't even run to the corner flag to celebrate with Graham and the rest of them. I just stood on the halfway line because I were in the right back area. I were blowing kisses. I were pumping my fists. And the emotion. And then after the game, I remember that everybody's running off, so you're quickly trying to get off the pitch. And the players' lounge were right next to the home team dressing room. And so family and friends of all the players were in there, and I just got dragged in my kit, my boots, my shorts, everything. I just got dragged into the players' lounge. I think I had about 4 or 5 bottles of beer, Budweiser, before I even got back into the dressing room. I just sat there, the relief. I'm just sat in my kit, my boots and everything, drinking a bottle of beer, thinking, it don't come better than that. But the more you think about it, though, Chris, you're not proud.
No.
Because Everton shouldn't be in that position. No. We have been for the last couple of seasons. We're a massive club. We're a big club. We shouldn't be where we are. Unfortunately, we are, and we were that season in '94. But I came to win things. I only won the league. Well, only. Not many people can say that, but I did win the league with Everton. But I just want to see the days when we're up challenging for honours again, because we're too big a club to be where we are at this current time.
There's still plenty to discuss, obviously, your post-playing career. But when it was actually time to go to Oldham Athletic on the Joe, I mean, was that a tough decision, or was it?
No, not really.
The right time.
It were the right time. I was playing. I went on loan to Sunderland. I had about 6 to 8 games there, and then Joe wanted everybody back who was, if there were anybody on loan, so he called me back. And I'd played about 3 or 4 reserve team games, and I thought, I've done all right here.
Yeah.
And I weren't even getting in the squad when the squad were going up of 16 players. And I thought, obviously, I'm not saying he don't fancy me, but I think my time's up.
Yeah.
So, obviously, Sharpie being my mate was the manager of Oldham. Colin was his assistant.
Yeah.
They'd just gone down from the Premier League. They wanted to bounce straight back up. So Sharpie, he was still in Birkdale, where I lived, and he just said, do you fancy it? Fancy 2 seasons with me? I went, yeah, of course I do. So it was a massive, I'm not saying a massive come down, but you're playing at Goodison, you're playing in front of 30, 40,000, and then you go to Oldham, who had just gone down, and you gain 10,000.
Yeah.
It were freezing in August up there, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I were playing for 2 fellas that I respected.
Yeah.
And I always went and gave my best no matter who. I went to Scarborough even after that and gave my best. So nobody could question me on my attitude. Whatever league I played in, whatever team I played for, they could never question me. So I went to Oldham, gave it my best shot, and unfortunately Graham got sacked.
Yeah.
And then that's when I moved on again to Scarborough. But I loved it at Oldham. We Sharpie and Colin, and we had some good times. We had some bad times.
Yeah.
But no, I enjoyed my 2 years there.
Yeah. And obviously you then get the call to come back to Everton. How did that all come about in terms of the role that obviously you fulfil now?
Yeah, it was fantastic. We're doing a bit of radio work. Sharpie were doing some radio work, and he were moving on to some station in Manchester, and he just says, Radio City are looking for somebody. Do you fancy it? So I went, yeah. So I did a few games, commentary, and a few phone-ins afterwards, and then Radio City approached me, and then they said, right, we've got a show, Saint and Snods. So that was great. That was for about 8 years, every Saturday, and I had so much respect for that man. He was incredible, and he used to get a lot of stick off Evertonians, but honestly, he were a fantastic fella. Yeah. So I had that, and then I just got a call one day from the chairman, ex-chairman, obviously, Bill, and he just said, have you got Graham Stewart's number?
Okay.
And I went, yeah, why? He said, I'm thinking of making him an ambassador for Everton Football Club. I said, that'd be great news for him. He went, aren't you jealous? I went, no, am I? I said, what a job that is for him. He went, I'm disappointed. He said, I thought you'd have said, why not me and why Graham Stewart? He went, I want you to be one as well.
Yeah.
And I went, it took me about a second. I went, please, can I? And I'm still, to this day, I'm so proud and privileged to be an ambassador of that football club, because I look at the ex-players and I think there's more players played more games than me, they've won more things than me, but to be asked to be an ambassador, I must have got some kind of character. The role is a bit diverse. You have to go into schools, you have to go into hospitals, you have to do talks, question. And I'm comfortable at all them. Yeah, I can go into a kid's hospital and talk to them like if they broke their legs and stuff like. Because I've got grandchildren, I've had children myself, so I'm comfortable there. With the older ones, when you have to go to an hospice and hospitals, I'm comfortable there. I can speak. So I feel as though I'm happy in my role, and as I say, I'm privileged, I'm honoured. 37 years on, and I'm still involved heavily at Everton Football Club. It's a dream.
One of the things I imagine in the ambassadorial role that's great about it is no 2 days are the same. You're down at West Ham the other week. You've got the Reef there, part of that, an official duty of, like you say, could be visiting people in the community.
Do you know what, Chris? I spoke about that at an Army Veterans Remembrance Day last week, and for me winning the league, signing for Everton, doing all the things, getting called up for England, I think that was the biggest honour for me, to carry that wreath out in front of 60,000 fans, representing Everton Football Club with Sir Trevor Brooking and laying it down there. Wow. I couldn't... When I got the call off Darren saying, you're going to represent Everton and carry the wreath, I got that on the Monday before the game. I was buzzing. I was absolutely buzzing. And even talking to Trevor in the tunnel for about 20 minutes before we actually come pitch side, I'm looking at him and I'm saying, this is Sir Trevor Brookie. And I'd put my hand out because I'm thinking, and I went, hey, Sir Trevor, it's Ian Snodin. He went, I know who you are, son, kind of thing. But it was brilliant. And I was nervous as hell. I'm thinking, because Darren Griffiths is going, don't trip up. And I'm thinking, he's putting all seat into me head, because I knew all the cameras would be on, all the eyes would be on there. But no, it's one of the nicest things I've ever done in football, was that the other week.
And I remember as even when it was the Chang tie-up and stuff in Thailand, stuff like that. And I mean, incredible human interest stories again.
It's fantastic because the tsunami, we went out to a village, me and Sharpie, to visit people of the villages in the tsunami that were affected by that. So, to go out with Chang, we went out 3 or 4 times with Chang as well. And I've done some amazing things since I've been an ambassador. I've done some amazing things in my career. I've loved every minute of it, and I won't change it for anything. But as I say, I'm 62 next, and still heavily involved with the club I love. So hopefully long may it continue. Yeah.
And just before we finish on the new stadium, Goodison Park itself, I mean, what is it you particularly will miss about it? Because I mean, we know as Evertonians how much love and passion there is there, but you know, for all of football, it's just a special football arena.
The atmosphere when we beat Liverpool last season 2-0, I have never heard Goodison rock like that.
Really,
it was bouncing. Yeah, the lad said Bayern Munich game were exactly the same before I got there in '85, but just to listen and then to hear the Sky pundits, Gary Neville saying, this place is shaking. Yeah. And it was. Yeah. And you're thinking, how good's this? The noise. And we've got the headphones on. We're doing, obviously, Everton TV, me and Darren commentaries, but you just take the headphones off and you can see all the stands and everything bouncing. You're thinking, it will be missed. It will, because he's a fantastic old stadium. Yeah. But then I've parked at Sandals and coming on the train and to see that new stadium. I'm jealous. Yeah, I wish I'd have been around to have one game in that stadium, because we went down when it was still a dock. Yeah, the ambassadors, and they were showing us round, and you're thinking, how are they going to get a stadium on this? There was still water in there. You're thinking, this engineering business is unbelievable. If they can put a ground on their stadium. And you go past now and you think, I don't want to go anymore. I've been about 4 times. Yeah. I've not been since the grass has been. I don't want to go until we're actually in it. I want to see it full now. But I've been 4 times and it's incredible. I'm jealous of them players that will be playing in there, because it's an iconic stadium. Already, right on the Mersey. Yeah. All lit up on a night game. Wow. Yeah. Absolutely. I'm buzzing to be in there, even though I'm only commentating.
I'm sure we all are. Thank you so much, Ian Snodin. Goodison Park, my home.
Pleasure.
The Royal Blue Podcast from the Liverpool Echo.